Ladies and gentlemen, the Raiders have had a truly insane 2 weeks. They went from the worst game in franchise history to the best game in franchise history back to back.
He's flipping for a 3-0 win.
It's a much better feeling than what we had. It's good to be on the right side of history. We obviously know the type of team that we are.
How did the offense go from scoring 0 points all game to almost breaking the NFL's record in points? Owner Mark Davis went from screaming asshole on primetime to clutching his cheeks in pure elation. There were so many shocking moments in this game, I cannot wait to break it all down. Remember to like and subscribe for more content like this. What led up to the greatest Raiders game of all time? We know the 2023 season was rough for the Raiders. Davante Adams was not a happy camper at all. He would be slamming his helmet after disappointing primetime games and also be yelling obscenities and wondering what the hell is going on and what he is doing in Las Vegas. Simultaneously, Mark Davis was going through an emotional roller coaster in the 2023 season. He would be with his date, and even though he would be with his date at a game, he would make it a little awkward, yelling at the Raiders product that was on the football field. But things changed after the Raiders fired Josh McDaniels and interim head coach Antonio Pierce gave the team a spark. Davante Adams was no longer pissed off and he was now dancing in the locker room having a good time, but he wanted to make sure that you knew that it was not a celebration that Josh McDaniels was fired. No, it's not a celebration at all.
Don't get it confused. It's not a celebration that we have a new coach and there's been changes made.
But after the honeymoon of beating the New York Jets and New York Giants, things got real for the Raiders and interim head coach Antonio Pierce, falling to the Miami Dolphins and also falling to the Kansas City Chiefs. But this is understandable. These are two good football teams who are playoff contenders. However, the Raiders in 2023 would reach an even bigger low after those losses, scoring 0 points against the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings ended up defeating the Raiders 3-0. This would end up being the second longest scoreless game in NFL history, and it was absolutely embarrassing that the Raiders could not score a single point. It was so bad that Davante Adams was not available for a comment in the locker room after the game. So this all set the stage for a Thursday night matchup between the LA Chargers and the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders were without Josh Jacobs in this game, and this Chargers team did not have Justin Herbert and also did not have wide receiver Keenan Allen. This game would be such a disaster for head coach Brandon Staley that it would ultimately end in him losing his job.
Ugly loss to the Raiders. That when a team like the Raiders with an interim coach is just pouring it on.
It was finally a great night in Las Vegas because there's been so many visiting fans completely taking over Allegiant Stadium. The Raiders have been in enemy territory at home, being completely invaded. But this time, there was no Chargers lady fan in the stands, no possibly paid actor in the stands. There was not a lot of powdered blue, and it was finally all black in Allegiant Stadium. Things started off testy in this AFC West matchup. You had Gerald Everett, the tight end of the Chargers, try to get into it with Amik Robertson. The 6'3" Gerald Everett ended up face masking Amik Robertson, but the 5'8" cornerback did not back down, got in his face. The trash talking by the Chargers would come back to haunt them. Raiders rookie quarterback Aiden OConnell actually got his first start earlier in the season against the LA Chargers because there's an injury to Jimmy Garoppolo. In that game, Khalil Mack had the last laugh and completely destroyed Aiden OConnell, getting multiple sacks, multiple strip sacks, and ultimately the dub for the Chargers against the Raiders.
The four held it, unlike the other four that used to be there, but he held it a little bit for us today, and we were able to get there a little bit.
It would be a historic day for Khalil Mack where he would get 6 sacks in a single game, his career high. But this time, Raiders rookie quarterback Aiden OConnell would come in as the starter, not just filling in for Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo now in this moment is a backup quarterback. However, he's still a captain on the team, still has the C on his jersey, and he seems like a happy guy being a backup. He gets paid a lot of money and gets to hang out in Vegas, and also looked like Jimmy Garoppolo. Aiden OConnell, AOC, would end up getting his revenge on Khalil Mack in this game, scoring 4 touchdowns, and Mack was just not a factor at all. You did not notice him. Thayer Mumford, the tackle, was doing a great job against him, along with Jermaine Illuminor, who was vocal on Twitter after this game. The Raiders tackle on Twitter said, "Y'all's favorite rusher ain't do shit tonight, huh?" So the Raiders were very cocky after shutting down Khalil Mack, as they should be. Not only was Aiden OConnell lighting up the scoreboard with touchdown passes, but we had some other players also throw some touchdowns as well, and that is former Patriots wide receiver Jacoby Meyers, now with the Raiders. He threw a wide receiver pass to Davante Adams for a touchdown. Meyers now technically has a perfect quarterback rating, and Davante Adams was asked about it after the game.
It is? Okay, so they didn't count the Patriots' little mishap last year. They didn't count it. Oh, he gone. All right, never mind.
Davante Adams is still laughing about the Jacoby Meyers lateral in the Raiders-Patriots game in 2022. This guy thought he was going to make a good last-second play for the Patriots, but it ended up in a odd and rare Chandler Jones touchdown. And unfortunately, it'd be one of the last times we see Chandler Jones in a Raiders uniform. The big story in this game was the defense having an absolute stellar performance. Malcolm Kuntz had an amazing strip sack, and not only was that special to see that happen, but you had the big man, John Jenkins, run this in for a touchdown. He scooped it up. John Jenkins is 326 pounds. He ran that in for a score, and he wants you all to know that he is the heaviest man to score a touchdown in the NFL.
Cass said they had you clocked at 17 miles per hour. Is that?
I thought I was a little faster, but I'm probably the heaviest guy to run a touchdown in the NFL.
So the Raiders have now had the heaviest quarterback in NFL history with Jamarcus Russell, and now they have the heaviest man scoring a touchdown. You also had an amazing pick six by Jack Jones, who was just picked up by the Raiders this year after being released by the New England Patriots. He has an interesting story and connection with interim head coach Antonio Pierce, who coached this player at the high school level, the college level, and now at the NFL level. If you want to learn more about Jack Jones' history with interim head coach Antonio Pierce, make sure you check out this video right here. The link is in the pinned comment below. But this was such an amazing one-handed pick six grab. The man read the play perfectly. Mark Davis was reacting to it in joy, and it had the whole entire team pumped up. You also had some more rare things happen on offense when the 33-year-old running back Brandon Bolden, the former New England Patriot, one of Josh McDaniels' guys, but he's been with the Raiders since 2022. Well, he ran the Wildcat, ended up taking the snap, and ran in an amazing touchdown. Nobody saw this coming. The Raiders have not run this play in the past 2 years, and this would be Brandon Bolden's first rushing touchdown since 2019. It was at this moment at the top of the fourth quarter. It was 63-7. The game was long over. The Chargers looked defeated on the sideline. All of their players looked absolutely depressed. The cameras caught them on the sideline staring off, and Brandon Staley truly knew that his job was over in this moment. It would be no surprise that Brandon Staley would be fired after this game.
After an embarrassing Thursday night loss in Las Vegas, firing head coach Brandon Staley.
These 63 points for the Raiders are a franchise record. This was not the most points in an NFL game in history, which is 72, but it is the second most points in a game after being shut out. 0 points 1 week, then 63 points the next. Only the 1934 Eagles have had a bigger turnaround than the Raiders had in these past 2 games. The 1934 Eagles went from 0 points to 64, just one above the Raiders. But you literally have to go back to the Great Depression to find a turnaround more historic than this. Some will say that the Raiders got lucky because there were injuries. There was no Justin Herbert in this game. But in the end, these 63 points is a franchise record, and it's the third most by a team in the Super Bowl era. Plenty of teams deal with injuries every week, but it does not end in such a lopsided victory like this. But ultimately, this matchup was really decided by fumbles. The Chargers had 4 fumbles lost in this game, only 1 interception thrown, and one of those fumbles that they had was on special teams. The Raiders just did an amazing job punching the ball out. 2 fumbles occurred in just the first quarter, and with only 3 minutes to go in the first quarter, the Raiders were already up 21-0. The turnovers in this game really just made it get out of hand quickly. After all the ups and downs over the past few years, the Raiders have a historic victory during the regular season. Let me know your thoughts on this game in the comments below. My name is Wi-Fi Willie. Peace out, and I hope you have a good one.